He had made me live in fear for years. All I remember from my 6th to 9th grade was fear. He beat up my mom constantly. He was threatening me with a knife at her home. At that point I decided that I'm not gonna be afraid anymore. Hello, I'm Jesse, you can also call me Jay, and I'm here to tell you about the time when I had 4 court hearings in 6 months and how that all unfolded. Now, if you haven't seen my previous 2 videos about dealing with trauma, you should definitely watch those before this, as you'll get a much better context and idea for the court cases and why they're actually happening. So I'll link those 2 down in the description below. Alright. If I were to briefly sum up the stories, on 2016 I was robbed twice in my own apartment at knifepoint. And after those robberies I had to move out of my apartment back to my mom's place because I was still underage that time. And I lived on my mom's place for maybe 2-3 months, and then my mom's boyfriend was very jealous of me, so they got into an argument where it heated up so badly that the guy tried to essentially kill my mom, and I intervened it, and I hit the guy with a baseball bat, but also got hit back, and I almost died from the impact. So after those things happened, I immediately moved out of my mom's place and I went to sleep on my brother's carpet. I just took everything I could, and I was just trying to build my life back together because I was studying at the time to become a welder, but my ex-girlfriend, who was pretty surely behind the robberies, was on the same class as me. So I had to change schools, and after a few months I actually got a new apartment when I was 18 again. So I moved out of town, I left all my friends and all the shit behind me, and I just completely wanted to start anew. So I actually decided that I'm gonna be working as a security, so I switched to that school and I started learning about the law and everything. And the first year I was just focusing on my studies and getting better. At the time I was also going to therapy where I talked about a lot of the stuff that had happened, and I was actually happy for the first time in maybe 11 years, because I was very depressed for a long time because I've been bullied and just beaten up constantly as a kid, and I was also struggling with the recent events, so it was all new to me. So I think it was early 2017 maybe, I got notified that there's gonna be a trial about the incident that happened at home with the bat. So I had a couple months to prepare for it, and I was studying full time, so I didn't really have any spare money to get a lawyer. But thankfully in Finland, if you don't have money for a lawyer, the government actually gets you one, so you're actually free to choose whoever you want to. And I believe that even if you lose the case, you don't need to pay the lawyer fees, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't need to pay anything, and I'm thankful for it. So I started to look up some lawyers in my area who had a good reputation, who could help me with the case, because I was charged with aggravated assault that time, because I had hit the guy with the bat as well. So I had really no idea how the court hearing is gonna go, so I wanted to be prepared. So I looked up this guy and I found out that he had an office maybe like 500 meters away from my home. So I hooked him up, I told him what's going on, and I also told him that there's probably gonna be multiple trials about my robberies as well. So I met the guy at his office, and the first impressions were golden, I gotta tell. He was this middle-aged guy with this long-ass beard, and he wore this like a cowboy hat with his suit on, which was pretty crazy. So he actually seemed like a decent guy, so I told him everything that had happened, and he was ready to help me with the court case, so that was amazing. And after a while, when the day actually happened, I was pretty scared about it, because I knew that I'm gonna see the guy there, and that's gonna be the first time that I see the dude in over a year, because I never saw him after we had that fight. And my mom and the dude were still together, which was pretty insane. So we arrive at the court, and my mom comes there with the guy, and then there's me and my lawyer, and we're about to start the prosecution when the guy speaks up, and he's asking me if we could go through with mediation, I believe the word is, which means that we wouldn't have the court like hearing at all, and instead we would come to like this mutual agreement about the whole thing, and there's like no penalties, and all the charges would be dropped probably, and it would be easier for us. And I was actually thinking about it, and I didn't really like understand what it meant at the time, so I asked my lawyer like, what does this mean, and is it good for me? And he actually told, that it's quite unlikely that if we go through the court like hearing that I'm gonna get my charges dropped, because most of the self-defense cases, they don't go through in Finland, which is unfortunate. So the prosecutor looked at me and she said, Jesse, I'm gonna tell you that you should probably not take that offer. And I was just thinking, this fucking guy, he had made me live in fear for years. All I remember from my 6th to 9th grade was fear. He beat up my mom constantly. He was threatening me with a knife a lot of the times at our home. Also just yelling at me, making me scared all the time. And I was actually like sleeping with a knife under my pillow because I was so afraid of the dude. And at that point I decided that I'm not gonna be afraid anymore. So I refused the mediation agreement and I wanted to go on with the court ruling, I wanna see this through. So I just announced to the court that, this isn't the first time that he has done something similar, so I wanna go through with the court and not take the mediation agreement. And then we began. And the hearing was pretty crazy because my mom actually refused to testify anything. She refused to testify against the guy. She was adamant that she doesn't remember anything from the night. And part of that might be true because my mom's pretty traumatized person. She's gone through a lot and she's like, she seems to forget a lot of the bigger events that had happened even when we were like younger. I'm pretty sure my mom just doesn't really want to face the consequences of her actions, so she's just like, you know, pushing everything away, so she actually doesn't like remember things correctly. So that meant that my mom wasn't gonna be helpful in the hearing, and my little sister, who was also present during the incident, she was 15 at the time, so I'm pretty sure she was too young to be like heard at the court, so it left just me and the other guys' words against each other, which wasn't ideal. So thankfully I had like documented the injuries that I got during the fight and the concussion that I suffered from the head. During the hearing, the guy told the judge that out of nowhere I just hit him with the bat and he just tried defending himself, and he had never touched my mom. I had jumped him out of nowhere and he did nothing to me. He never like touched me or hit me with the bat or anything. He told that during the fight I had like stumbled backwards and hit my head, which caused the concussion. But my lawyer thankfully was very smart and witted, and he was like arguing that it's odd that I have an injury on the front of my head, even though the guy is telling me that I fell backwards. Like, how is that possible? So it was pretty clear that he's lying there. And I totally admitted that I had hit the guy. And as I was studying to become security at the time, I was reading a lot of like law around the subject. So I told the judge that what I did was out of state of necessity, which means that there was nothing else I could do. And state of necessity usually means that a person does something unlawful in case of like emergency. The classical example is that a stranger breaks someone else's window and saves the children inside from a fire. And that is a state of necessity, even though it's unlawful to break someone else's property. So I stated that as he was strangling my mom and I ordered him to stop and he didn't, it was a state of necessity. My mom couldn't escape the room, even though I could have easily left and just ran. But I couldn't leave my mom there. And I only hit the guy after he started like running towards me. I feel like the prosecutor was on my side during the whole hearing, and I felt pretty good about the whole thing. I wasn't really too scared about the outcome because I was ready to face any consequences that I might get, because at least I saved my mom's life and I was happy with that. I think it took like 2-3 weeks after the hearing, my lawyer like calls me. He's like, hey, I got some news and the results are like in from the hearing. So he offered to make some coffee in his like office if I go there. So I just went there straight away, and he starts like congratulating me, you know, this is a good thing, like your charges were dropped fully, and the court agreed that it was necessary what I did, and that the other guy's gonna need to pay me for the damages and stuff. And he got like, I think it was only a year of probation, which was the worst part, but at least he got something out of it. So I was happy with the outcome. After the first results from the court hearing, it didn't take long for me to get notified that there's gonna be another trial and then another trial about the robberies. And my lawyer was like immediately ready to help me out with those as well. So he got to work and he was trying to get the police reports from the night so he could like form a picture of what had like actually happened and how the guys got caught, because I still had no idea how they got caught. Maybe a couple days go by, he calls me to meet him at his office again, and I go there and he has like this thick stack of papers there waiting for me, and he starts like reading the police reports and he picks a specific like spot, and he's like reading that after the second break-in, after the guys took my stuff, they went to one of their apartments and they started doing more drugs because they were, you know, partying. What a successful gig it was. And one of the guys actually had an overdose and his heart stopped and he just fell to the ground. And the others tried to call for help. And the operator in the other end, he was kind of wary about the whole situation. And he was thinking that there's something shady happening, that it could be related to drugs. So she decided to send the police patrol there as well. And when the police got there first, they found the guy just lying there. And they also found all my stuff just laying there in the living room. And that's how they all got caught. Which I still think is pretty crazy. And my lawyer was just fucking laughing in the office. And I was just like, what the hell? Dude, it was pretty rough to see my lawyer just laugh at it. But, you know, I think in his mind the guys got what they deserved. So, couple days before the second trial was about to take place, I actually got a call from my dad. And I haven't really talked to my father in like years at this point. And he gets like notified about what's going on, and he's like furious. And he says that he's gonna be there, you know, at the court. He's gonna come there and, you know, like support me. And I'm telling him like, okay, that's completely fair. Just, you know, try to behave because I don't wanna get any more trouble. And he promises me that he'll be fine. And it's the day of the second hearing. I go to Järvenpää where we have the trial. And I arrive at the train station. And I see my dad waiting for me at the platform. He's fully dressed up in his like leather jacket and all black clothes, and he has this friend with him, and he like introduces me like, yeah, this is the leader of a gang, you know. And he's like 2 meters tall, he's built like a brick house, and he's wearing all the proper, you know, symbols and everything. And I'm like, okay, that's wonderful, you know. And the trip from the train station to the courtroom was pretty hilarious, because I was also wearing a black like blazer, and I had fully black clothes on. I had my tattoos like showing, and I had like sunglasses and darker hair. And I was still very like skinny because I was suffering from anorexia at that time. And I just have these like huge guys like around me, and I just felt so like secure, you know. I like no one even wanted to look at me or glance at me. I could do like anything. At least it felt like that. But boy, that was something. And we meet up with my lawyer. I introduce, here's my dad and his friend, whatever. And my lawyer is still wearing the freaking cowboy hat. And he's also wearing black suit with that. And we like arrive at the court. There's just us four, coming in, and then there's the robbers. And when the hearing starts, and my dad and his friend, they were actually allowed to come inside as well, but they just had to behave, which they at least tried to. But like they started to like yell stuff, at the robbers and stuff. They were obviously very pissed that they had picked me as their target. They actually had to call the fucking security there because they couldn't behave, so the security guys had to like watch over them, which was just insane. And I feel like the robbers were pretty scared as well, because they saw my dad and the guy, just a couple bikers with me coming to the court ruling. And I think they realized at that point that they might have made a huge mistake. And they were pretty quiet during the whole thing, and I was just explaining, what had happened, and they all just agreed pretty much. But they never revealed why they like chose me, or why they arrived at my apartment exactly, and why did it happen twice. But I'm pretty sure it was my ex who sent them. And it was a pretty lengthy like session, because there were multiple people involved, and we needed multiple stories of what had happened. So we had this like break in between the session, and I went to the bathroom in the courthouse, and almost all of the robbers actually came there as well. And they like approached me and they said, "Oh, Jesse, we are like so sorry that we did this to you." And they wanted to like shake my hand, which was pretty admirable in my opinion, even though it might have been out of fear. But still, I admired the gesture. And we continued with the session, and the court ruled that, the guys will pay me back, and they'll pay me some compensation for the damages. And one of the guys actually got a jail sentence. He was the main guy. I think he got like a couple years, and all of the others got like probation. And I remember after the hearing, when they started to like take that one guy away, because he wasn't a free man anymore, I went up to him and I just told him, that I have no hatred towards him, and I hope that he gets his like life together, and this is like his chance to do better. And at least it seemed that he understood, but I never heard from him since, so I have no idea what happened. After the second like hearing, we still had like couple trials to go, because some of the guys actually never arrived. They ran away from the police and everything. So we had to have like extra trials. because of them. But they went as the others. There wasn't anything too crazy to tell. They just got penalized for not arriving at the court, which was pretty hilarious, you know. You're not gonna get away. There's no way. I feel like that was the turning point in my life, because I got all my charges dropped, and we got closure to the thing, and I moved out of town. I was studying, and I got out of the depression, and I actually felt pretty good. It actually felt pretty good to be alive for once. Even though my mom is still with the same guy, and I'm probably never gonna understand why she is still with him, at least I can move on and start doing what I love, I think. And I'm still a bit afraid, honestly, that my ex might see this one day and decide to do something stupid. But I'm pretty sure it's all in the past now. At least I would hope so. It's been almost 10 years since I saw her. So I thank you guys for listening, and I'm hoping to see you around soon for my next crazy adventures.